Welcome back. A budget presentation unlike any other. That's how chartered accountant and social commentator Richard Peterkin described the Prime Minister's 2021-2020 budget address. According to Peterkin, there were no new incentives announced, but rather a continuation of what the Prime Minister deemed to be working. Nisha Charles reports.
Chartered accountant and social commentator Richard Peterkin has weighed in on the 2021-2022 budget address by the island's Prime Minister Allen Chastanet, describing it as a bikini budget. By that, he meant that even after the Prime Minister had spent 4 hours making his presentation, when looked at closely, the budget didn't seem to have any meat on its bones. But rather, Peterkin said that the budget merely emphasized the programs that were put in place, particularly during COVID-19, which the government hoped would take it through this next fiscal year.
I've been monitoring budgets now for over 20 years. And almost every year, you would see a little bit of, in some revenue measures, a little incentive here, a little giveaway there. And then, when it came to the year of an election, it would be even more full of goodies to that extent. And this one, as the Prime Minister himself admitted, there are no such fiscal measures in the budget. He basically said that the economy can't afford it, and to that extent, his policy was a path of fiscal consolidation for 2021-22 and the medium-term strategy. And so to that extent, if people had expected a couple of reductions in tax, there was talk a year ago of more personal tax fiscal reform, which he himself had introduced but did not implement. All of that has been kicked down the road.
Peterkin did mention that the Prime Minister made some pronouncements, but were only on the surface.
Property tax, which is something that had changed back in 2015 or so. It was going to be on a valuation basis. They were having problems implementing it, collecting the money. When his government came in 2016, he suspended all individual property tax for 3 years, and then he carried on another 2. So throughout his entire term, there's been no individual property tax. And that, for most countries, is a source of a lot of revenue government. So what he's talking about is a new property tax regime, which will be perhaps not as costly to individuals and easier to implement and collect, but there were no details as to exactly what it meant. So that's what I mean by there's a lot of stuff in there where he talked about and made some promises, but there were not enough details for us to really see what's involved and to criticize it or to like it.
He said that what the Prime Minister did reveal was government's plan, which began back in 2019, which would take the country through these difficult times.
So it's not going to be a case of, promises in terms of lower tax, but certainly promises in terms of more jobs as a result of infrastructure projects, call centers, etc., etc. It's all there in the budget. And so, in terms of expectations, I did not go into this in terms of expecting to see anything dramatically different. But as I said before, for following it for all these years, I don't think I've ever seen a budget that had, as little when it came to little things or large major plans, but rather spoke more about something that was already in place, something it felt was working, and something that would take us to those better days.
The 2021-2022 estimates of expenditure is set at $1.639 billion. For the Hot 7 News, Nisha Charles reporting.
Member for Castries South East Guy Joseph has announced plans for his constituency if re-elected into office. Chief among these endeavors is to make Cul-de-sac a town during his next term in office.
The Castries South East constituency is poised to become the talk of the town. So says the MP for the constituency, Guy Joseph. Joseph unveiled his plans during his presentation to the budget debate last week. At the top of the list were plans for cul-de-sac.
We passing the state of village and we going straight into town. Cul-de-sac will become a town by the next term of the United Workers' Party in government. You know why? Everywhere have village, they have town, they have city. Well, cul-de-sac will become a town. And when you see this project is finished there, you see what's happening in cul-de-sac? Already you have KFC, you have CPJ, you have the new frontier in Castries for development is definitely in cul-de-sac, the crossroads of St. Lucia's development.
It's not just cul-de-sac that will see developments in the constituency. Bexor will see developments too.
Bexor Community Center. This is not a pipe dream. This is not blind faith. The contractor is on the ground working. The foundation is being laid for that building as we speak. And when it is completed, that's what it's going to look like. It's going to be an indoor facility that can house over 1,000 people, because I expect groups like Chekapesh not to have to go to the cultural center to put up a performance. They will be able to put up a performance in their own community to benefit the people who reside in that area. I'm building a market in Bexor. That's not a pipe dream. Look, the containers are in place. The floor has been cast, and Caribbean Metals is designing the roof. And you know when this is completed, Mr. Speaker, what it's going to house? Massage parlor, a food market, a restaurant, a nail pedicure, manicure, a barber, a souvenir shop, because we're making it a rest stop for the tourists going to and fro.
The MP highlighted scores of projects which he has completed during the last term in office, as well as those he plans to undertake if re-elected. For the Hot 7 News, Nisha Charles reporting.
The Water and Sewage Company WASCO sat with members of the media on Monday morning to give an explanation for the extended water shortage experienced in the north of the island. 1 week ago, the company released a statement informing the public that due to scheduled maintenance works on a 24-inch distribution line supplying residents in the entire north of the island from Cap Estate, that should be from South Castries to Cap Estate, residents would have experienced an interruption in the water supply on Thursday, the 15th of April. These works were necessary in order to repair leaks on the main, in keeping with the thrust to reduce non-revenue water. Communications and Marketing Officer Sherry Ann Gillard-Williams revealed that this task was scheduled to take only 1 day, with water services being restored on the same day. However, this was not to be.
WASCO is mindful of the level of inconvenience that has been caused to some of our customers in the north of the island, and that is stemming from the maintenance works that we carried out on Thursday last week on the transmission line. Of course, we did, prior to the works, inform residents that we were going to undertake those maintenance works, and that it would have been advisable for them to store water ahead of the outage period. Obviously, there were some challenges that we encountered that we did not necessarily make allowances for during the maintenance works, and a major one was the discovery of a fault or a break in the line at Hospital Road, that's near Victoria Hospital. And this was one of the faults that really had to be taken care of. And so because of that and other challenges, there were delays in terms of access to water by residents in the north of the island.
Williams said whilst the company did stick to their word, circumstances beyond their control led to delays in water services reaching the different households and businesses in a timely manner.
The system was reopened on Thursday as promised. However, because of how the system is set up, we would have delays in terms of the water traveling through the system, especially when it has been depleted for over 24 hours. There would be several challenges in terms of replenishing that system and getting the water to residents, especially at the further end of the system and those at higher elevation. So in other words, water pressure would have to build up before water can get to customers. In some instances, we have storage tanks that would facilitate the distribution of water to various communities. Those would have to be filled up before the water can actually reach customers.
WASCO is aware that to date, the company has not reached 100% restoration. However, the staff are going above and beyond to see that the issue is remedied as soon as possible. This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. There's more after the break.